strange reason, we started zero rating knowledge. It maybe has something to do with the fact that the internet made knowledge ubiquitously available, that anytime you're looking for new data and information, you type it on a Google search, the data and information comes up. I come from a time when if you were looking for information, you went to the library, you spent 4 hours reading encyclopedias to find 2 sentences that you could add into your essay at school. But today we live in an age where if you're looking for new data and information, you go into Google and you Google it, right? So one of the things that's done is it's made people think that because information is freely available, there therefore is no value to information. And nothing could be further from the truth. And here's the reason why. It's precisely because information is freely available that what you need today is to understand which information is the information you should be learning, right? So the reason you come to a masterclass like this is not because there is stuff we share that you won't be able to find if you went and spent, 4, 5, 6 weeks of your own life researching this stuff. But it's because you want to collapse what we take in 6 weeks of, knowledge gathering, research, and putting together content into an hour, 2 hours of learning. That's why you do it. And so the value is not that in whether or not the information is freely available. The value is knowing which information is required at which time. So I often say to business people, it's no longer just about information, it's about insight. So it's not just the information that you want, but it's what's the insight that you're gaining from that information. And what does that mean for you? And how does that help you make decisions about where you want to go and how you want to move going forward?
Vusi, share with us a bit in terms of, I know that we've done this prep for the closed session, but share a bit about the trends that you're seeing, what's happening, for SMMEs, where things at.
Well, I think the first thing that is happening, especially if you're an SMME owner, is almost every single SMME owner that I'm talking to right now has got a liquidity problem. And liquidity problem is a finance way of saying they've got a problem with cash flow, right? That they don't have money. Every single SMME. And that's the first trend. The second trend I'm noticing is that SMMEs, because they're desperate, are using the wrong kind of funding instruments to solve a liquidity problem. Now, those of us who trained in finance know it's finance 101, that a liquidity problem tends to be a short-term problem, and short-term problems need short-term solutions. So if you have a short-term liquidity problem, what you need is debt. You need access to credit. You shouldn't be selling shares or equity. I cannot tell you how many, please buy 20% of my business for this approaches I've had, just because guys are having a difficult time. It's tough out there and they're looking to raise a little bit of money. And all of a sudden they're looking to get rid of shares. So the first trend I'm noticing is this liquidity problem. The second trend I'm noticing is people selling shares in exchange for liquidity. You shouldn't be selling shares in exchange for liquidity. What you should be doing is using your balance sheet to raise debt funding. That's what you should be doing. What you need is short-term 30 to 60-day funding. You don't need to be selling shares, right? So if you're busy with the pitch deck to sell shares, stop doing the pitch deck. Stop the pitch deck. Stop all of that stuff. Just get your business in a place where you can apply for debt funding so that you can start trading. The third trend we've noticed, and we've noticed over this time, is that how many business owners have really, really struggled with this thing called remote work. It's tough. When you're a small business owner, a big part of your business is about proximity to your people. It's about walking into the place, whether it's the Postnet branch that Bongi runs, or it's a pen travel branch that you run as a franchisee. It's about walking in, talking to your people one-on-one, having a discussion with them about what are the goals for the day? What do we need to achieve? And most importantly, as we all know here, there's an old expression, when the cat is away, the mice are at play. So the reason you bring your people to the place of work is because if you're not there, they're not going to work. And I'm sure there's somebody watching this going, I've had that problem. Where all of a sudden, because my people are working from home, you send an email, they answer after 5 hours. That's if they even answer within the business day. They're not answering phone calls. It's the most odd thing to me. You can tell the person is not busy. You can tell they're not receiving customer emails. But if you phone them, they're not answering. So what are you so busy with at 12 o'clock midday, apart from maybe watching clientele ads with Desmond Dube? I don't understand it. So the third trend that we've noticed is the difficulties most business owners have had in just motivating, inspiring, and keeping the culture of their teams working in this space of remote work. It's been a really, really difficult one. And then the fourth one and the final one, and I'll close with this, has been the emergence of building an online business. Look, in 2021, if you don't have an online strategy, you're dead. That's just the end of it. Yes. You've known me long enough, Leilani, that I wouldn't be caught dead 5 years ago doing a session like this. Would have never happened. First, at a time like this, I would have been on a plane somewhere in Europe on tour. I would have been going to see the Champs-Élysées and at the Eiffel Tower. Then I'd be in Rome in the middle of doing my talks and all the rest of it. But today, if you don't have an online play, you don't have a business. Now, saying it is one thing, knowing how to do it is something very different. There are entrepreneurs joining this conversation who don't understand the difference between JavaScript, HTML5, and WordPress. So the minute you say to them, you've got to build an online shop, they have no clue what you're talking about. They don't know APIs, they don't understand plugins, they don't know what payment gateways mean, they don't know. All he knows is he's got a business, he needs to get that business online, right? So those are for me main trends.
Just to add that to that, Vusi, and you know, that founder or that business owner is already spent mentally, right? Because there's so much going on. And even, like what you were talking about earlier about a employee being, you know the person's not productive, you can't measure them in terms of KPI and et cetera, but at the same time, if they come back with a little white lie, you've got to believe them, because it's actually quite credible, right? Because they may have been ill, they may have had a fever, they may need to isolate, all of that jazz, right? And it also speaks to me quite fundamentally about trust. And how do you build trust in your teams? But yeah, you were saying.
That's such a powerful, I love that word. That word trust is probably, guys, I want to say this. I think of the past 32 minutes, 22 minutes we've been in discussion. That word trust is probably the most underrated word in business today. Trust is everything. Your ability to go to a customer, make a commitment, and they believe you. Your ability to have a supplier make a commitment to you and you believe them. Your ability for your team to give you feedback or you to give them information and we all believe each other. Trust does this, and this is what most people don't understand. Trust actually only gives you one thing in business, Leila. It gives you speed. That's it. The trust builds an environment of speed. Now, I've had to make some very difficult changes in the business. I've had to get rid of people who've been in the business a very long time, who've been in this business, right? Yeah. For a very long time, because we got to a point where we'd eroded that base of trust. And trust today, in business today, trust is the ultimate currency. Trust gives you speed. Your ability to tell me something and I believe it without questioning it, without asking questions, and to move and act knowing that as fact and truth is absolutely everything. And I cannot stress enough for the business owners and entrepreneurs watching this conversation, for the executives in this conversation who manage teams, how important it is to operate from a base of trust. It's fundamental. And the thing about trust is it gets down to first principles. It really is about making sure that we say what we do what we say, and we're held liable for the commitments that we've made, right? And it's difficult in today's world where somebody makes a commitment about a project outcome or a deliverable that they're going to deliver, or a particular KPI that might relate to sales or collection of cash or any of those, kind of technical parts of a business. And then when they don't make that target or that timeline, they want you to move the target or timeline because you need to understand most. It's COVID. And the minute we start negotiating around deliverables, trust is gone. Yeah. It's gone. So I think trust is.
Yeah. So my friend,